This is Mainstream Metaphysics with your host, Nick Newmont.
Well, welcome to Mainstream Metal Physics. Audrey likes that. We goof around before the show. There's a lot of... a camera should be rolling prior to us going on the air because we do have fun. Hi, I am Nick Newmont. At least that's what she tells me. Welcome to Mainstream Metaphysics, live from Westlake Village, the studios of Conejo Valley Talk Radio. Behind the board is Ed Hunt.
Ed! Howdy.
There we are. Who he saw Merlin today.
Yes, he did.
So
He did.
Merlin.
Yes.
He did.
And Merlin saw me.
Exactly. So before we jump in, I do want to honor and say hello to my other half, my partner, my wife, who I've known almost 27 years in a few weeks.
September
Audrey.
11th.
Welcome, Audrey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
You're
I
welcome.
really appreciate it.
I asked her, that's not just goofing around. She and I work very full days, and I haven't talked to her much. We're in the same building. We're not exactly in the same suite. I don't know if you haven't been to if you haven't been to the Newmont Center, then you wouldn't know that. We got a typo.
Oh, shit.
Audrey. See that?
Hey, Ed, I'm going to ask you early on, don't put those up. They get in the way of the reels.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Little technical stuff.
Look at this, making corrections right on the flow. Who says you can't change horses?
Right?
Right?
Middle of the street.
That's right. And that's a joke that we'll talk about off air.
Nicholas.
I know. See what you bring out in me. Audrey, I got to tell you, she is a great audience. And what I mean by that is I wish that she had been my audience when I was doing comedy because she laughs. She has such a great sense of humor and a great sense, when I say a sense of humor, I mean a sense of what funny is. And I don't try to be funny around Audrey. I just say some stuff. And
Like mental physics.
yes, stuff like that. She thought that was funny. Before we get into what Audrey wants to talk about, and it is significant and important, I want to go back to last week and the show that we did on the crystals. And I have to tell you how effective it is to bring the crystals on board because the crystals caused us to sell some pieces. And there was a thing that we were going to do with Audrey. If you watch Audrey's Instagram or Facebook or mine,
I can't do it now.
see, she knows what I'm going to say. So Audrey did this delightful little vignette about this great big tower of chevron amethyst that is just gorgeous. And so we were going to do her bemoaning she can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
Hi, Ellen in Cincinnati, Ohio. Thank you so much for watching.
Hi,
I got to tell you
Ellen.
something. The person that's watching on Facebook, Ellen Barnes, she's been a client of mine since about 1993
Wow.
or so, because or 94. I was living up in the hills above Studio City, Wrightwood Drive, and I started to do some television and talk shows and stuff like that. And I ran an ad in a local newspaper in that area called the Tolucan. Ed, did you ever know the Tolucan? Mm-hmm. All right, I ran an ad for psychic readings, and her ex-husband contacted me and gave her a gift, a reading with me, and she's been a client ever since.
That's a great
which
gift.
goes to a good 32 years ago.
Wow.
Ellen is one of my longest standing clients. I appreciate her. She's gone from Cincinnati to Los Angeles to Vail, Colorado, or Aspen. I forget which one it was, excuse me. And then back to Cincinnati. And she said some things to me today that, thank you, she's changed my life, that she's going to write a testimonial on, and it'll be the greatest testimonial that anyone has ever written about me. We talked on the phone today.
Wow.
And by the way,
Thank you, Ellen.
yes, and Ellen, although she's not the same year as Audrey. She's born on October 13th.
Yeah.
Yep, you know who Ellen is.
Yes.
Yes. So, Ellen, thank you so much. As I said to some folks last week, those of you that come to us are the Newmont Center. We simply work there. And without our followers, our clients, our customers, there wouldn't be a Newmont Center.
Right.
So, thank you. So, back to the crystals. So, I got another one of the Chevron Amethyst Towers. It's in the trunk of my car. It's still wrapped in bubble wrap. And we were going to do this thing. Look, honey, I got you another one. But the joke is on me because the person bought the other one, realized and saw the pictures and said, well, I want that as a twin. So it's not going to get unwrapped because I have to deliver it
I don't
tomorrow
even
afternoon.
get to look at it in person.
Well, she will, you know who she is, so she would gladly let you come over and
just come
visit
over and fondle her crystals.
And in fact, you can go with me tomorrow. Oh, no. You have your own thing tomorrow night, so you can't come with me.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Anyway, this is like coffee with the Newmonts, We have our own conversations with each other, and you have to do the show with me more often.
I know.
Right? It's what we used to do way back in the days of LA Talk Radio.
Yeah.
And, we used to co-host. Anyway, thank you to everyone that watches. We sold so many crystals in the past couple of weeks. It is absolutely insane. And some of that stems from the fact that we do a lot of house blessings. So if you feel that there's some nonsense going on in your house, humanly, spiritually, something's not working right, call me and, we'll come and bless your house. It's very involved.
That's where we're a team together. I've been
Yep.
doing a lot of them with him, and it's quite the process.
Yeah, it is an involved process. So the other night we finished this group of students that finally finished part one, and they're a great group. They're going to blend into the other group starting in September, which is the segue into what are we doing in September 14th?
We have our Healthy Mind, Healthy Body course coming up, and it is an 8-week.
8 weeks, yes.
And we go through all the different parts of the body's syndromes, why
Right.
you create the ill health in your body.
Right.
We get into a lot of things that people just have no idea about. And once you become informed, information equals power, and you become informed about yourself, then you're empowered. So it's a great opportunity to, whether you're just a regular person doing whatever, you're a therapist, you're a holistic healer of some sort, there's a wide variety of people that would appreciate this class, if nothing else, for your own awareness, your own
Absolutely.
health.
Yeah, you don't have to be a practitioner of any sorts. This class is designed for anybody to take it, and if you're not within proximity of the Newmont Center, it's completely Zoomable. There's no interaction. It's a lecture
Yeah.
course is
And
what it is.
we make it fun. There's a lot of PowerPoint going on, and there's exercises that you do. I think
Right.
I have a family that's coming.
It sounds like that. And
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's a couple.
There's still room if you'd like to attend. Zoom, there's always room, but in the center, there is room. It's every Monday night, beginning on September 14th through first week of November.
Yep.
If you'd like more information, contact us either here, on our Facebook pages, or you can call the center at 818-865-8770, or you can email me, nnewmont@gmail.com, or her, anewmont@gmail.com.
Or
If you'd
you can
like-
go to newmontcenter.net to the calendar page, and it's right there.
If you can't find us, that's your fault. We're available. So yeah, the show on crystals is always fun to do that, and
Yeah.
carrying them out. Now, we're going to talk in a moment about where state of mind that people are in right now, but they're really going to be in a state of mind beginning tomorrow night on the on the West Coast, bleeding into the wee hours on the East Coast. We do have a full moon, and it's a lunar eclipse, or it's a loony eclipse, because it's a it's a Pisces full moon, with the Virgo sun, and this is a very emotional full moon. I'm already seeing people acting up and acting out. So, ground and center with this one. This is gonna push people out of their comfort level, I think, is the best way to articulate this full moon, because it's going to bring a lot of things up to the surface in people. They're going to realize feelings that maybe they didn't realize they had, or they weren't completely in touch with, or the thing that, if you're a practitioner, a therapist, a healer, what you're going to get is, I dealt with that. Yeah, right. You're going to see.
Maybe you didn't get to the nut of it. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a time to clear up past patterns that have been holding us back from personal fulfillment. We want to be open to new possibilities, and we want to examine emotions that push to the surface. And also, this sun moon, this eclipse is squared to Uranus, and so people are going to flip out a lot more. And because this is the Virgo Pisces axis, the other axis that gets affected is the Gemini Sagittarius axis. So those 4 signs are going to feel it the most.
So those people with those kind of signs,
Yep.
what should those people do?
Think before they speak. Be with their emotions, but don't go and fly off the handle, because with Uranus forming a square to this, it's going to make things more challenging than it needs to be. And with Uranus, that makes people fly off the handle a lot more.
So you're saying what signs is this? Their sun sign, like their sign?
Well,
they're
if
born
their rising sign, their moon sign, or their sun sign is in Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, they're going to be the most affected. Okay, like for instance, this the degrees. It's early Pisces, all just under 5 degrees. Okay, like for instance, I'm born with the moon in Sagittarius, but my moon is at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, so this is not close enough to that to make that happen.
So we don't have to worry about you getting all kinds of crazy, right?
No.
But people in our life that have...
I'm not going to fly off the handle, but I'm going to roll the handle up and close the window, because I know Ed's back there laughing. Yeah, I mean, it's like, what's a full moon good for? Absolutely nothing. No, that's Edwin Starr. Ed and I are from the same generation. We talk about music all the time. So a little bit of levity there. The full moon is for releasing. The new moon is for starting new habits and patterns. The full moon is basically write things on a piece of paper. Get a fire going. Throw those things in the fire. Say, I release whatever it is. Be gone. That's what you do on a full moon.
I had 3 different clients go outside. I'd take them outside with their pieces of paper, and we burn them outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a part of it where you're calling it complete. The lesson is learned. You've gained that wisdom, maybe the resilience, and you're letting it go. And it might come in some tears, but you want to express and literally let it go. And it's a very powerful thing to do. It's quite cathartic.
Now, in a emotional time like this full moon, the Virgo part of the axis, those people are going to be very private with it. The Pisces people are going to deny that it's there. The Gemini people are going to tell you part of the story, and the Sagittarius people are going to talk all night. Okay. So those are the 4 perspectives on this full moon. Okay. If you haven't guessed yet, I am an astrology teacher, and that's why I make jokes about the signs. I'm not taking shots at them. It's just reflections of those personalities. So, Audrey, you have been very busy lately with people, and you've been looking at a lot of different things. You have your book. You're working on another book, and
Well, I'm redoing my first book. I've got to make some edits, the pictures in particular, and when I was reading it online, because I created a podcast where I read the whole book, I realized as I was reading it that I was the only set of eyes that really saw it before it went out, because AI isn't really a set of eyes. And that's what my publisher was using, which I didn't know. So that's going to be re-released with very great pictures. And it's also going to be re-released with this as its playbook. So you have an additional exercise book to go with it.
yeah, it's not a workbook; it's a playbook.
It's a playbook.
I love that.
Nick helped me with that. He's like, Audrey, why do you call it a workbook when, it's a game format? You call it a playbook. It's like, I love that.
Being a coach, of course, I would say that.
Right?
By the way, this is the real AI, Audrey intelligence. The other stuff is all superficial. Okay. When I need to know something, I ask her. Audrey intelligence.
Arr.
So, what are you finding with your people? Okay.
Well, in particular, there's something that I'm seeing with people, and I think it's a very big deal, and I wanted to discuss it with you and have your input as well. But there's this thing that when I'm talking about the book, it is easy for people to understand, so I use it as a relatable tool when I'm in therapy with people. And so I put together a whole game format. And then in the game, there's literally a game board, and then there is a game piece, which is a car, which represents the body. Then the driver is the soul, and there's three aspects, three versions of the driver. There's the number one driver, that energy that flows in and as in through us, and it's intelligent, it's beyond our imagination. And that's the next book, actually. And then there is the adult in the front seat. That's who we're being right now. Nick and I are being the adults. We're very intentional, we're logical, reasonable, on purpose. Then there's the kid in the back seat. And that's the one that has all the feels, like anxiety, the big one for people right now. Stress, worry, anger is a big one for people right now. All these different feelings. When we're in those feelings, we are not being intentional in our life. It's literally the kid in the back seat, and that's where we have all the beliefs. So when I'm sharing my tools with people, it's this page in the tool book. Does it show up right, Ed?
Sure does.
Yep.
Yeah, let me zoom here. Hold on.
So this is like our controller. This is the thing that makes everything happen. So if you were to have a controller of you, it's this. And we have the fight, flight, freeze in the bottom of it. And then we've got this area of the mind, because this is your mind. In this area of the mind where you can see it's so large, that's where we have all of our programming, all of our thoughts that are creative. And that's where we have a lot of great stuff that goes on, and then we have a lot of challenging things. So people will come in and they're like, oh, and I do this and I really don't like it. Well, it's always in here. And this is basically like the kid in the back seat. And as you can see over here, there is a part of it where we take on a lot of the program of who we are in hours 0 to 8. So from like birth to 8 years old, we take on a lot of the beliefs of who we are. And then from 8 to 9, we start to develop a part of our mind where we're able to get into filtering things and more critical thinking. And then, we've got that small area of most of our minds where it's conscious. So in the work that I do, I teach people how to recognize the kid in the back seat by being the adult in the front seat and kind of channeling that first driver. So what I've been finding, and I'm telling you, this is a very big thing right now, because I'm finding it with all kinds of people where that thing about being the adult in the front seat, it's a challenge. People don't want to adult. And I'm really finding there's a certain generational thing, I would say anywhere from like 15 to 30, there's a lot of people in that generation, they don't want to adult. So I started looking at this because I have a client that basically said, I don't want to. I don't want to be the adult. And when you are not being the adult in the front seat, you can't see what's going on in the back seat. You're kind of in the back seat. You're not being conscious with your choices. You're kind of loitering back there, and that's where people get into addictions. That's where people get into behaviors like I'm a procrastinator. What are some things that you see from the kids in the back seat with your clients? They get into addictions. Porn's a big thing for people right now. What's another thing that we deal with clients that are, not adulting, not taking responsibility?
One of the things is, and it's not really getting into bad habits, it's because of belief systems that they don't attain. In other words, they're not as successful, they're not in a relationship. Things seem to be elusive for them because of old belief systems.
Yeah. So I've been looking at this, and I got to thinking about it, and especially with this one particular client, and it's a lot of clients, but this one particular client, they broke through and they chose the front seat. They are choosing the adulting. They're literally able to own the first driver. And I was looking at this scenario, and I was thinking about it in my mind. So when we are recognizing that from the 0 to 8 in the front seat are our parents, and we're in the back seat. So we're sitting back there, and a lot of parents, they really want to make sure that the kid's having a great time, and they want to do for them. They don't want them to have a hard experience. We see this all the time. I've had clients who do their kids' homework, who talk for them because they don't want to say something, so I'll say it for them. And there is a lot of not encouraging them to, step up. And I think there's a part of it when we all went through the hard moment around 20, that parents were like feeling so bad because the kid was having such a bad experience.
You mean 2020, you mean around COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
They would allow the kid to have like excessive gaming or watching whatever they want, which could look like hard things like horror movies and things like that, or listening to music that is unfortunately not great for the mind. And so what I'm looking at is this avenue where kids were in the back seat and they're just catered to and taken care of, and they didn't have to go through the actual emotional stuff of it. Then also, while they're in the back seat, they're looking at the parents in the front seat. So they're in the back seat. It's like, all right, that's a pretty good ride back here. I like it. It's pretty good. I'm getting taken care of. My needs are met. I'm doing all this fun stuff. I get to game. I get to do all this stuff. Then they're looking at the adults in the front seat. And the adults, you may think you're hiding it from the kids. A lot of times you're not. They're listening, they're watching, they're learning, and a lot of those kids are back there going, oh, that adulting stuff, that doesn't look very fun. It looks like a lot of responsibility. I don't think I want to do that. And they make an unconscious choice. I just want to keep being the kid. I just want to keep gaming. I just want to keep playing. I want to keep doing those things that are fun.
What's interesting listening to you is what goes hand in hand is distraction and dissociation.
Exactly. So they don't want to be in the hard feelings because, number one, they've not really had an opportunity to be in them and learn from them and work through them. It's like a lot of times, I see this a lot where people don't understand how to be the adult and process the feelings. They just push the feelings aside, and when we do that, that creates the dissociation. So if people are heavy gamers, if they're heavy drinkers, heavy into anything, even working a lot, work usually doesn't equal a lot of emotional turmoil. So yeah, it creates that dissociation and distraction. It just is what it is. And so we don't make it bad, we don't make it wrong, but like we're talking about with the full moon, you have to bring these things to the surface. You have to bring it from a place where we're unaware to doing the critical thinking around it. So we start questioning ourselves. Why am I doing this? What does this look like? You're asking yourself those key questions. Is it true? You know, why, when, where, what, how? All these things where you're investigating as the adult, the kid in the back seat. Then you can bring it to the surface, and as the adult, you get to address the behavior, you get to address the belief, you know, these ideas that we take on, and you get to be consciously changing it.
You know, and one thing about 0 to 8, because we both attended HMI, is that 0 to 8 is when we develop our suggestibility, which is how we learn and take in information, and it's done by the main female caregiver, whether that most of the time is spent with the mother, grandmother, aunt, or an older big sister, or a nanny. And so if the mother is a worrier, you're going to be a worrier. You learn that. And by the way, things are lost. I mean, our parents write our subconscious script. And one of the cool things is with hypnotherapy, we can rewrite the script. If there's an aspect of you that you're not happy with, in hypnotherapy, we can go back and reframe that and change that, the perspective, first of all, because how you remember something about growing up, you know, is the perspective that you have on it, right, wrong, or indifferent. The other thing I wanted to comment on what you're talking about when people are driven to distractions. One thing that we're not saying is
Really driven to distractions.
Road trip, mind trip game. Pun unintended. Is that when we're talking about the things that people do within ethics and morals, that it's nothing wrong with gaming or doing things that are hobbies or a sport that you have. We're talking about where so much time is used or wasted, where that's your priorities are askew. That's what it is. Or if you're literally not doing productive things that you should be doing at that time.
Well, what I find is this, and again, it goes with all of them. If there's something that you're doing that's distracting, that feels good, that's great, and you're doing it because you don't want to be present in life, like gaming is a very, very big
that's
one.
Different.
And when I'm working with these people that are gamers, it's like they're the hero. They get to go from this, whatever they've created in their day-to-day life, into the game, and in the game, they're the superstar. They're winning. They're it. And in life, it's not like that. And when you're gaming, it's where you're literally in another reality. Like if you were to talk to somebody that's gaming, they don't see their room. They don't be present in the day-to-day life. They're literally kind of sucked into the game. And same thing with alcohol, same thing with drugs. Sometimes same thing with porn. You are literally in a whole nother place, not present in the car. You're the kid in the back seat.
And one thing about gaming, which really solidifies what you were just saying, is if they're wearing those goggles, those visors, where you're really isolated.
Yeah, and you feel like it's real.
Right.
And because you're the hero, it's like, I like this reality. And then you get back into life and you're and in their own terms, they will say, I'm a loser. Well, it's not that you're a loser. You've created an element for yourself where you're losing at the moment. So what are you going to do to change it? So you have to make it important for yourself and make it valuable to be present. Instead of the dissociation, you're associating, you're recognizing and changing, you're making new choices, making new habits, making a life that is valuable. And that is when people do that. I'm just going to say, I have somebody that I've been working with for a while, and I'm just going to mention this because it's such a big deal. Sometimes people come in and it's like they get it, and they just, it's like you're on a roller coaster and you've hit that hard time, and it's like click, 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 click. They're learning new tools, they're clicking up, and they're getting up there. And the next time they go down, they don't go down as far. Well, this particular person loved them. And they have been like, click, 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 to the point where I have told them a couple of times, look, you got to do this, or I'm not going to see you anymore because it's wasting money. And I don't like wasting other people's money and time. So you either do it or you don't. Well, they took it upon themselves. All right, I'll do it. And they clicked a little bit more. But just, what was it, Sunday night, he had a session on Saturday. And whatever happened in that session, it was like I got a text, which I never do. And it was like, I feel different. And then he started saying all these things that he was doing. And I was like, Nick, what did I say? I said something along the line of, oh my God. I mean, I was wildly excited. So it's important to get, this was a gaming person. And he gradually pulled out of the game, gradually stepped into his life, made the life more valuable, made the life even more valuable, then made it where it's like he made this, I feel different, because he was present. He was associated. Instead of being the dissociative person, he was present. And then he wanted to do the things to make the life more valuable. And that's what it looks like. So as a therapist, I was like, what? This is amazing. And for this person, I'm telling you, he's going to have a life worth living in the moments of it, right?
Yep. One of the things that you bring up, Audrey, about when it comes to gaming and the reference is when a person is an NPC.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when I'm working with people, I will use that as a reference. And for this particular person, I was like, do you understand that you're being an NPC in your day-to-day life? I get it that you're the hero in the game, but the game is just the game. And what are you getting out of the game? You're not being that hero in your own life, and you can be. And I've told him a few times, I was like, I see it. There's things that you say to me. There's all these different things that give me the awareness of where you can be because I see you do it. But then you'll slip back into that, mode. So in your life, sometimes people do play the part of the NPC, the non-participating player. You're not present. You're not being in the position as the adult in the front seat, making those intentional choices, making that opportunity to do the things that your heart, moves with. So, yeah, you be present as the hero in your own life, or you be the NPC in your own life. Yeah, in the game, you're the hero. And you look at those NPCs like they're nothing,
Well, they're just characters that fill in the background.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you're looking at it from that vantage point, so because he's a gamer, I use that kind of language because I know that he'll understand it. But people do all kinds of stuff in their life, and you have to just, as a therapist, meet them where they are.
Well, I found it interesting that, recently you were working with a parent and two teenage kids, and sometimes parents come from a place where they're sort of lording over their children, and because they're talking, they make themselves the expert on the situation. And in this situation, I laughed when you told me this. You looked at the parent and said, shh. So you were parenting parents in that session.
You know what? Sometimes it's important for the kid to speak. And because we are the parent, because we know, it's like we just know. And they were saying, it's not important what they were saying, but the kid was speaking and the kid needed to be heard. It was important what they were saying. So when the parent was going, I just literally was like, shh, because I wanted them to hear the kid. And both of the kids looked at me like, oh, did she just shush my mother? It was a moment of levity because we all laughed about it, and it's okay. I wasn't rude, I wasn't mean. It was just like, you need to let them speak. Sometimes as parents, we don't let the kids talk enough, and we don't listen to them. And again, it goes back to that whole thing about being the adult and the child. Mm-hmm. As an adult, like I've had 3 daughters, right? They be crying as a kid, and there's something in it. Like my first daughter in particular, she would cry and she would do whatever the thing was, and it would trigger my kid in the back seat so bad. Like I wanted to revert to what I had as my experience, and I wanted to have myself do behavior that I knew was not okay. And I had to literally stop myself and find other options. Luckily, I could do that at that point because I love her so much. But a lot of times when kids are acting up and they're doing whatever, we take it on from our kid in the back seat. And I've literally recently had a parent say, because their kid was crying for whatever. And I mean, these are all common stories. The kid was crying for whatever, and it was like, well, why does that bother you? Well, because, and it's a young child. And I was asking them, why does that bother you? And sure enough, it went back to his kid in the back seat. Well, that's weak, and that's not okay. And it triggered that part of him that wasn't able to cry. And there's much more to the story. And to be clear, it's a common story. It's a very common story, like mine. When my kid was doing whatever, it triggered that part of me and various aspects of what happened in my childhood. So when you're able to be the adult for your kid and be in the adult seat and recognize when it triggers you, what is this? Because they're just crying. That's the only language they know. What is it that's triggering me? And then you're able to look at it, then you're able to process out what those feelings are about and get to the bottom line of it. And then you're telling that kid in the back seat, your younger self, yeah, we didn't get to cry. We didn't get to do all those things. And it's okay. I'm driving now. And when our kid cries, it's a beautiful, glorious thing. It's an expression instead of a suppression. And you're able to let that part of you know it's okay, it's finished, it's complete, it's done. We've learned the lesson, we let it grow, and we move on, like we're going to all do tomorrow with the full moon. So all of this is a process, but when something's triggering you, it can be that, and when you're being the adult and you're working through it, that's where you own their power. So like I was telling this other client that I was telling you about that didn't want to be the adult, there's a part of it where I asked them, what does adult mean to you? And they said responsibility and blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, all right, well, in my perception, being the adult means I get to be free. I get to make my intentional choices. I get to choose my avenues. I get to do whatever it is that I want to do because I'm driving the car. And then also being the adult means I get to notice and understand when the kid in the back seat's having a problem. I get to be there for them, where maybe many of us didn't have that as a child, didn't have somebody hearing them, teaching them, learning all of that. But then the other biggest part of it is the kid in the back seat. They're the one that's fun. They're the one that's playful, spontaneous. In the moment, they get to be the one that's feeling the biggest amount of joy. It's all those feelings. You're just paying attention sometimes to the hard ones because that's where you're going to learn. But when you're the adult, you're saying, hey, let's go back to the fun stuff. Let's play a game. And what does that game look like? That makes sense?
Yep, completely. You know, in that 0 to 8 time when we talk about communication, in fact, the person you were referring to when you got him to cried, you know, I've worked with that couple as well, and we did an exercise about communication. And it's...
Oh, this is a different client.
Oh, it's a different... Okay. All
but
right.
yeah, talk about that
Audrey
one.
makes male clients cry. Let's just establish that.
They like it.
They like it. That's some kid in the back seat. Wah!
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling when you're really letting it freely out. That's what we're designed to do when we're crying. That's when we're releasing those chemicals that are hard in the body. We're releasing the cortisol. We're releasing stuff through those tears. Get out there and cry tomorrow along with the howling. you'll feel good. Talk about the other one.
So communication patterns are established, early in life in the first 8 years, and this couple are having some communication issues. So there's an exercise that we do every once in a while. It's called reflective response, and you take the chairs and face them opposite. And so the exercise is one has to say a few sentences or a short paragraph, and the other one has to repeat verbatim with voice inflection and almost imitating their voice, because it teaches listening. It doesn't teach how to communicate. It teaches listening. Because you can't hear, you can't communicate.
Right.
Okay? And so it took them a few times, and I got them both to do it. So then, fast forward a few days later, I understand that they had a tiff over something. I said, well, did you employ reflective response? Well, he said, no, we didn't in that situation. And the response I got from her basically was, oh, as if, like, were we supposed to do that? And I said, in session, I emphatically said, you are supposed to do this, in the next few days, even with trivial things. In other words, one says, honey, I'm going to the grocery store to get bread, eggs, milk, and coffee. I'll be back in about 15 minutes. Oh, so you're going to the grocery store. You're getting bread, eggs, milk, and coffee, and you'll be back in about 15 minutes. That's the simplicity of how this works. But I said, no wonder you guys got into an argument, because you weren't even doing the assignment that I gave. And the one, again, kind of took it as, oh, were we really supposed to do that? So how well was that one listening in the session? You know what I mean? Look, the problem with part of it with listening is, and Audrey would agree with this, people are forming their own opinion on something instead of really listening to what's being said, right?
It's a very big deal.
And Audrey will say in many situations, right away the person goes into their defense on what they're being told, accused of, whatever it is.
I want to talk about the defense too. And that is a very, very big deal. And that's something that I see. I love working with families, by the way. Like working with couples. When you're doing that, you're able to see both sides of it, where people can come in and they just present whatever they want. They don't have anybody else saying, well, actually. So when people come in and they're working as a team in therapy, and I can see them with each other, it's really easy to see the defense. And sometimes when, like for instance, Nick and I, we've been together, September 11th will be 27 years.
Yep.
And it has been a process. And in the process of us being together, that's when I came up with this constructive communication format. And when I'm working with my clients, I'll literally teach this to them, and it's a format to communicate with each other so that they're able to hear each other and they're able to make the adjustments. Like Nick and I in our relationship, I mean, it hasn't been this smooth ride the whole time, but we communicate constructively with each other, and there's a part of it where we're, especially as we've gotten older, we've gotten a lot more open, less defensive, and there can be all these different ways that people have a defense that come up. We have another client that we work with, or clients that we work with, and this couple, I'm telling you, they started out below ground floor. They were down here. And they are, I mean, it's like been such a pleasure to work with them, because they're seeing their defenses, where at first it was like there was a lot of a defense, there was a lot of tit for tat, there's a lot of she said or he said or she did this so I did that, and back and forth and all of this. And they created a lot of chaos, a lot of drama, a lot of unintentional hurt. So now, and it's not a very long time, because they're both really intent on doing this, where they can see their defenses And that's a big part of it. When you can take your defense down and look at what somebody's telling you, you're doing this, you're saying this, here's the problem, here's what's going on, and the other person is saying it in a very matter of fact, this is just what you're doing. I don't like it. We used to have a thing in our house when we were first doing all this, and I was figuring all this out, and we would be, the Incredibles, the Bob's boss, Mr. Incredible's boss. He would sit back and he'd go, "I'm not happy, Bob." And then we as a family started taking that on. So when we would constructively communicate with each other, "This is what's happening. I'm not happy, Bob." And so we'd have to listen to each other because we're each other's mirrors. Every single time somebody's doing something that we're unhappy about, you got to look at them as they're the kid in the back seat. And so you're being your own adult and you're giving them some feedback. You're letting them know you're doing this. "I'm not happy, Bob." And then the most important part of it, here's maybe the effect that it has on the relationship, whatever, but the most important part, it always comes back to what's your intention. So this one, I've said it many times in our lifetime. So for the future, can we do this? Can you do this? And I will draw a little picture, a diagram. This would work. I think it would work for everybody. Can we do this? And this is how you know you have the right partner. Every single time he has said,
Yes.
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 Sometimes we revert back, and then we have to say it again in a different way, but still the same format. But when you can take down your defenses and you can actually hear the other person, you got to think of it as a blessing. They're showing you the crap that's going on in the back seat. It's a gift. So when somebody's telling you you've done something they don't like, there it is.
Well, in the couple that I was working with, and Audrey works with them too, one of the problems in the communication coming from her was creating the defense because, as Audrey says, in constructive communication, this is what you're doing, this is how I'm feeling, and for the future, can we do this? The wife in this situation was saying to the husband, "You need to this." In other words, she's commanding a change. And I said, never tell anyone what they need to do because, one, they're not going to respond. And the person would be justified saying, "I don't need to do anything." The other thing is, what?
We had that in our relationship.
And that didn't last long
early
at all.
on. And
yeah,
I
that
said
didn't
to
last
him,
long.
"You need to," and he looked at me and he literally stopped me in my tracks. He goes, "Audrey, I don't need to do anything." And I was like, "Oh, okay." That was a long time ago.
Long
and that
time
was
ago.
that was a good thing.
Right.
It was very good.
But what I explained to this couple also was because we want to retain our power, and this is someone who doesn't always own her word, right? And I said that when you tell the other person you need, that's all that you're giving up your power. When you say, "I would appreciate if you would do this," and you're asking, you're holding on to the "I," all right, as opposed to "you need," okay? You're throwing all the power over to the other person.
Right.
If you want something done, if you're asking for something, proclaim it, as "I would like." For instance, if I'm talking to someone, with my students when I'm teaching, and we're explaining a topic or a concept, I don't say, "Do you understand?" I'd say, "Did I say that clearly enough? Do I need to re-explain that?" Okay? And you're going to get a much better response than, "Do you understand? Did you get?" That creates a defense. Right?
Right.
So communication style is extremely important, and we do inherit communication style from, in our first 8 years of our life.
Yep.
One time, and this doesn't happen anymore, everybody speaks either more literally or more inferentially. And everybody does that at some point. And I remember in our early years coming home from work, and Audrey said, "Oh, by the way, they called. They're coming Thursday to fix that." And I went, "What?" And she said, And I go, "Audrey, I have no point of reference on that. What are you talking about? The powder room in the toilet is running. You know, I called the plumber. They're coming 9 a.m. Thursday to fix that. That I got. Now I understand. And she fixed that right away. Is there anything wrong with it? No. It's communication styles.
There's nothing wrong with any of this,
No,
to be
but,
clear.
but when a person speaks inferentially, it means that they've got a vision and this program running up here that they can see, and they're not giving you the whole story. It would be like if you were listening to a sporting event, but the person describing the event was usually a television, broadcaster, so everyone can see. But if you're doing radio, you have to give all the details.
Yep.
Because people can't see that. So we try to give more information that helps the cause. Yes, and there's the other end of the spectrum. In fact, there are people, there's questionnaires that I give every time when I get a new hypnosis client. And one of the questions is, do you find it important to relate all the details leading up to the subject so that the other person can understand it completely? And painfully, so many people answered such a yes to that one.
That's why I do this.
Shh. Right.
That's enough. I got the picture.
Those are the
whole story.
Sagittarians, by the way.
And I love them. I love them. And I say shush in a very loving way. I want to say something else, and it goes again to the adult and the child. It's important to get, when you're communicating with the other person, they're not intentional. And people will say, no, they intentionally wanted to hurt me. It's important to get, when you're looking at everything, like this being the controller, this is the thing that makes everything happen. And then there are 3 buttons on the controller: intention, attention, and your perception. So when you're looking at intention, as the adult in the front seat, we have our intentions. It's, I'm going to do this, this is happening, whatever that is. When other people do whatever, when I say it's unintentional, even if they're doing something hurtful, it's not their adult in the front seat that's doing it, it's their kid in the back seat. So it's not intentional. And we have a tendency to want to go in to judge it. Can't believe they're doing that. They did this, they did that, whatever it is. When you're able to take out the judgment and you're able to, 3rd button, perceive them differently as they are the hurt kid in the back seat, the angry kid in the back seat, whatever that is, they're unaware that they're unaware. They're unconscious. So when you are in that mode and you're, instead of going in and playing in their game, like I know many parents who will jump into the back seat with the angry kid instead of being in the front seat and encouraging them to come up and join them in the front seat. We have a tendency as people to get angry with people. It's like, the analogy I use is that they're playing soccer. And soccer's one of those games. They're pulling on ponytails, they're kicking each other, they're butting each other and doing all that stuff. It's not a very peaceful sort of game. So people will be in their anger and whatever, and they're playing in that game, and then we want to go and join them in that game. Well, I'll be angry too, and I'll be, doing whatever that looks like, taking revenge, getting angry, doing whatever the things are. The key is to recognize, oh, they're in that game, and I'm going to be the adult, and I'm going to go over here and play maybe pickleball or tennis or something that is much more, user-friendly kind of game. And you give them an opportunity to join you in a new way to do it, a new way to be. So you're stepping out of the judgment. You're checking yourself before you jump into their game, and you go into compassion for the other person. Whatever that looks like, it can look a million different ways, but compassion's the opposite of judgment, and then you're giving them an opportunity to join you in a new way to play with each other.
One of the things that when you talk about, being the driver and the kid in the back seat, if you think about that, if you as the adult are having to go back here and you're swatting at the kid in the back seat, you're going to wreck the car.
Yep.
Okay, which really means that you're getting off track, you're losing focus because you're contending with this back here instead of being here.
Well, I had that other mutual client that we work with. This guy had a really, really, really angry kid in the back seat. I mean, really angry. And I laughed one day and I told him, I said, it's kind of like you're driving a limo and you have put up the window and you're like, shut the heck up back there. I didn't say where heck. I literally said to him, you're just like, you need to stop because I'm driving, the angry, adult. That's what he's thinking in his mind. And then he laughed at me when I told him you're putting up the window, and he laughed and he was like, no, Audrey, I've taken it one step further. He's in a U-Haul in the back. It's literally one of my favorite stories. Well, that guy is doing really, really well now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I don't even talk to him anymore.
He's doing that well.
Yeah.
Jeez. When you just talk about the first driver, and we really have a minute to go, one client, male client, you and I have worked with through the years on and off for a long time, and this was a really powerful statement. When you speak of the first driver, speaking of God, source, spirit, and this person had on and off gone through struggles, successes, and I said the following: you don't have faith in yourself, and he immediately took that as he was not confident. And I said, no, you don't have faith in yourself. And it hit home very hard. And when we are going through periods where we're not believing in ourselves, where we're not attaining, we're not doing, we're distracted, we're doing other things, we're just not where we want to be. When we get to a point where, there's distractions and there's dissociations, but it's not just dissociating from yourself and what you need to deal with, dissociating from source, and that is not healthy. That means you're really cutting yourself off. So it's very, very important to stay connected on a very deep level.
Well, when we're being the adult in the front seat, that is, I am that I am, and then you are sharing it with the back seat. You're the middleman. So we can't go from here straight there. There's that block. So you be the adult to connect the three. And that's important to really get. That's another reason to be the adult in the front seat.
We talk about the spiritual bypass, the intellectual bypass. I think we're discovering there's a parental bypass to be worked on. All right, all kinds of bypasses. Because when you bypass, you're not taking you're not taking the road. There are times that the road is under construction, and sometimes you have to slow down and navigate that bumpy road. There are things said about the road less traveled. When you're bypassing, you may think it's a shortcut, but you're going to realize you're not getting to your destination doing that either.
Right.
Sometimes you have to go through the rough patch.
Yep.
Audrey, we've got to go. Thank you so much
My pleasure.
for
Thank you.
coming on the show. I appreciate it. Come on more often because you have a lot of great insights, and a lot of what you do is your own material.
Oh, yeah.
You're originators, and that's something that we're very proud of at the Newmont Center. We innovate there.
We
We
do.
are not imitating
Yeah.
other people, other programs. We create there, and look forward to you redoing your book, the next book that comes out, and seeing you in the halls.
Well, thank you very much. I do look forward to coming back.
Yep, definitely, because you have so much to offer, and your insights, while there's a lot of them, they have to be given to people like a bite at a time, so people can really digest what you're saying, because it's one thing to talk about it on a show like this. It's another thing to watch you work with people week after week, month after month, and to see them improve.
Yeah,
And
good. I'm
you're-
telling you, it's just like,
and
that
you're-
makes my heart happy.
Right. Yes, and it is rewarding, but
Yeah.
your program works. Anyway, we've got to go. Ellen Barnes in Cincinnati, thanks so much for staying up late and watching us. Be talking to you down the road here. And for all of you watching, whether live or recorded, thanks so much. This has been Mainstream Metaphysics. This is Audrey Newmont. I'm Nick Newmont. We are the Newmont Center in Agora Hills. Always thanking Ed Hunt behind the scenes.
Yay, Ed.
Coming from Conejo Valley Talk Radio in the heart of Westlake Village and hot and sunny Southern California. Remember, as always, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Next Wednesday, I have a boosters meeting. I think I'm not doing a show next week. I got a